In the Book of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano are ultimately brought together in Star Wars, although this is not their first encounter. Ahsoka, the former apprentice to Luke Skywalker's father Anakin Skywalker, makes an appearance in the Book of Boba Fett Episode 6 while Luke is training the young Grogu. But given that they are already acquainted in this new Disney Plus series, it seems likely that they originally met at a previous time in the Star Wars timeline, a first meeting that the Ahsoka series will eventually reveal. The Mandalorian Din Djarin visits Ossus, where Luke is teaching Grogu, in the Book of Boba Fett Episode 6, to see how the youngster is doing. Djarin is persuaded that meeting Grogu will only make the youngling's road more difficult by Ahsoka's unexpected entrance. Tano will meet with Luke during Grogu's training after Djarin leaves his gift of Beskar armor with him before returning to Tatooine. It is obvious that the Jedi have been introduced and are quite well known. Tano did make the distinction between herself and Djarin as a friend of the family, and she also made notice of how much Luke resembled her master, Anakin Skywalker. In the time frame of Star Wars, there is a sizable window of time where Luke and Ahsoka might have crossed paths. There are two things, nevertheless, that seem most likely. Even though Ahsoka was identified in Star Wars Rebels as the enigmatic figure known as Fulcrum who assisted in the formation of the Rebel Alliance, it is unknown where she was during the actual galactic civil war. Additionally, Luke's path toward becoming a Jedi has been depicted in the canonical Star Wars comics published in between the first three films. Although Luke hasn't yet met Ahsoka during his quest for knowledge about the Jedi Order before Return of the Jedi, it's possible that they did so before the conclusion of the first trilogy. If not, the second most plausible scenario is that they got to know one another in the 5 years following the collapse of the Empire, but before Tano instructed Djarin and Grogu to summon a Jedi in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. She probably had Luke in mind all along. It was inevitable that the two would cross paths, whether it was before Return of the Jedi or in the years that came after before The Mandalorian. Between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Luke was determined to learn about the Jedi Order. Ahsoka probably followed the rebellion she assisted in creating, eventually learning about the renowned hero who destroyed the Death Star. No matter when Ahsoka and Luke first met, it is obvious that their travels crossed before the Book of Boba Fett. They are so linked, in fact, that Ahsoka will probably take Luke's position in the canon adaptation of Heir to the Empire when Grand Admiral Thrawn reappears. Even nevertheless, it would be helpful to know the precise circumstances of Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano's meeting, particularly in light of the information she might have given him on Anakin. Tano's voyage during the Galactic Civil War, and afterward, as well as the first encounter between two Force users, should be made clearer in the Ahsoka series. Regardless, the Book of Boba Fett featured a pivotal Star Wars scene when the two of them appeared on screen together and interacted. It's probable that Ahsoka will feature another appearance by Luke Skywalker. The Disney Plus Star Wars programs have featured numerous lead characters from the movies, from The Mandalorian to Obi-Wan Kenobi, frequently when they don't have to. Luke Skywalker made appearances in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, therefore it's safe to assume that he will make another appearance in Ahsoka since Luke and Ahsoka met in the latter. Following her Mandalorian Season 2 and Book of Boba Fett appearances, Ahsoka is continuing Tano's story rather than Ahsoka's survival of Order 66. That implies that when the Ahsoka series was set, she had already met Luke. In her solo program, Ahsoka and Sabine Wren appear to be more focused on stopping Thrawn from coming back than on Luke and his Jedi training. It would be strange if Ahsoka's program on Disney Plus' Star Wars was the only one where Luke didn't make a CGI appearance now that it has been established that they are working together. Hayden Christensen is back as Darth Vader and is reportedly making a cameo appearance as Anakin on his apprentice's upcoming solo program, even if he doesn't. As a result, Ahsoka will undoubtedly contain at least one Skywalker.